Deputy President, I concur and commend Senator Ketter, the chair of this inquiry, for the work that he's done and, of course, the work of the Secretariat and my colleagues. This is a very important inquiry. This inquiry into non-conforming building products was instigated several years ago, at the end of 2015, along with my then colleague Senator John Madigan and Senator Lambie, in terms of non-conforming building products. And the trigger for this inquiry was the La Crosse building fire in Melbourne in November 2015, and it was luck alone, Mr Acting Deputy President, that no lives were lost in that inquiry. And the committee, quite rightly, reinstigated or revisited this issue of cladding following the awful tragedy of the Grenfell Tower fire tragedy in London in June of this year. And this inquiry is very timely and very urgent. And I agree with everything that Senator Ketter has said about the need for urgent action in relation to this. And it is up to the government, it is up to the minister, it is up to the states to take immediate action in relation to this. And if the government won't act, then the next step will be to have an amendment to the Customs Act in terms of safer building products, so that we ban once and for all polyethylene building products coming into this country, because we don't need it. We can go without them. The cost differential per square metre is quite minuscule between the two. That's the evidence that the inquiry has heard. It would ensure that these products are not used in high-rise buildings at the moment. The flammable material can be used for shop fittings, can be used on single-storey buildings, but why let them in the country in the first place? Because the cost involved would be negligible in terms of having a fire retardant, something that is actually safe and something that will not effectively be a building wrapped in petrol. Because I note that in the Four Corners recently, the Australian fire safety engineer, Mr Tony Enright, stated on the Four Corners program examining polyethylene cladding that, and I quote, "A kilogram of polyethylene will release the same amount of energy as a kilogram of petrol, and it gets worse than that because polyethylene is denser than petrol too. So that's about a kilogram of polyethylene is like about 1.5 litres of petrol. If you look at 1 metre by 1 metre of square section, that is of the PE core cladding, that will have about 3 kilograms, the equivalent of about 5 litres of petrol." So why would we have our buildings, our public buildings, where Australians reside in them, where they work in them, where families live in them and sleep there overnight, why would we have any of those buildings effectively wrapped in petrol? Because that is what we are talking about, and there must be immediate action in relation to this. So that's why this inquiry has been so important. Everything that the chair has said is spot on, and we need to make sure that we have action by the states and the Commonwealth as a matter of urgency in relation to this. And it's also very important that unless the states act with alacrity, unless they act with a great sense of urgency, then the way to stop this from occurring is to stop bringing this stuff in the country, and that still leaves thousands of buildings, though, that have this cladding. There must be that audit. I'm not satisfied that the audit has been as comprehensive as it could have been. And even when we asked the South Australian government questions, I think there were questions by Senator Hume about the new Royal Adelaide Hospital and the Samri, two magnificent buildings, we should have been told immediately what sort of cladding they had, because there's an audit that's occurring on that. I think the government has assured us that there isn't a problem, but these are things that the government should have at their fingertips with an audit. So ban the stuff from coming into the country from now on, and let's have a comprehensive audit so that there can be remediation carried out so that people can live and work safely in these buildings. This report is of utmost urgency. The committee has done its work. And I note that Senator Carr was also a very active participant on this committee. We've done our work. We've issued the warnings. We've said that there is no excuse not to act. Let us hope that governments, federal and state and territory around the country, do not hesitate to act on the recommendations of this inquiry to do what is necessary to protect public safety. We cannot, under any circumstances, bear the tragedy that occurred in London just a few months ago. We must prevent any risk of that happening here. That is why this report is of utmost public importance and urgency, and we must act on it.